All right, well, I'm in Sydney today and I'm joined by Brendan Ross. Welcome on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, I reached out a while ago. Every now and then, I like to get smaller businesses on the podcast. And I saw you do stuff around service with L&B, and I wanted to learn a bit more about you, how you fit into the hire industry, and sort of like allow small businesses to sort of get their name out there as well. So, definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on.
No worries at all. Thanks.
So maybe just to start off with, I know that you service a lot of hire businesses
Yep.
with their equipment, but maybe you want to go back to the origins. Like, how did you first get into the equipment rental industry?
So I started in the equipment rental industry around 2010. I was at Botany Access. So I basically started at Botany in the office doing hire control, transport allocation, that sort of stuff. Worked my way through and decided one day, I was like, hey, I think maybe I want to get a trade, try something different. So I spoke to like Dave, the service manager there at the time. Just said to him, like, hey, how about I try apprenticeship out? He's like, yeah, man, let's do it. So started off in the workshop and just started going from there. I think 2.5 years in, had me out in field service straight away in the ute, and like just kept going. It was great, to be honest with you. Like,
So it's something a lot of people like. Well, I don't personally know a lot of people that went from a hire controller into service. Like, is that something that like you sort of saw what was happening and you're like, I want to experience that, or how did that sort of transpire?
I think I kind of went backwards. I think a lot of people go from a service trade to like the office. I don't know, like I enjoyed what I did. I mean, I was still only 17 at the time. When I first met like Justin, the owner, I said to him, like, I went in for a sales cadet role. So I wanted to like get out on sites, meet some people, and do that role. And they said to me, like, you're not even old enough to get your EWP license yet. I don't know if it's, good timing for you to do that. So he just said to me, he's like, hey, why don't you try the office out for a while? Once you turn 18, we'll get you a license, we'll get you out there. And so, yeah, I just started in hire control. And then I like saw the guys, like all the mechanics they had there at the time. And I was like, it's pretty cool. Like, they get to go out there, drive around Sydney, go to sites, you get to meet some of the customers, and you get to fix equipment. So I was like, hey, why not? So I was like, let's give it a go, see if I like it or not.
Nice. And so how did you find out about the industry? Were you just applying for a million jobs, or
Just a random job that
Okay.
I decided to apply
Pretty
for.
standard. So you're
Yeah.
just like, all right, somebody's going to interview me.
Yeah. I was like, I'm fresh out of school, I need a job, and then like cadetship. I'm like, yep, that sounds like the perfect way. Let's go have a look.
Nice. And so Botany Access, obviously they do mostly like EWPs and all that sort of stuff. So you got exposed to the stuff that goes up and down, basically.
Yeah.
So sort of where did it lead from there?
So with Botany, like we did everything for the machinery. They had like a scaffold division, so I got exposed to that a bit as well when I was an apprentice. Like they paid for me to get my truck license, so I used to do like a bit of overtime here and there, delivering machines to sites, meeting people that way. A lot of like operators jobs on weekends for an extra $1 or $2. You go out, meet people there. So from there, I decided to leave and sort of expose myself to more equipment. And I was like, what can I do next? So I had a thought, and I applied for a job in Ahern. Went and worked in their workshop just to see what it's like working for a manufacturer for a while. It was good. I quite liked it there. It's very different to go. It's good to see a different aspect. Like, Botany Access is a rental company, so it's just like go. Like you're running around like a headless chook sometimes.
Yeah.
To switch over to basically the manufacturer, where the rental company is now your customer, and just to see how they deal with them on a different side of things as well.
It's probably a lot more like preparing equipment for sale and then maintaining stuff that you sold, basically.
Yeah, and even just like the warranty side of things and the after sales care, like, what lengths do you go to keep these customers happy? They're going to keep coming back to you. Like, are we going to go out at 10 o'clock at night? Are we going to go out at 4 o'clock in the morning? Like, the level of service is got to be pretty spot on, like, to keep these customers coming back. So it's service, but it's a different style of service again. So it's cool to see sort of both sides of the way the industry works.
I was looking at the Hire Association, the nominations for Supplier of the Year.
Yep.
And I was looking at the access category, and I couldn't believe how many access OEM suppliers there are now.
It's tripled in the last 10 years.
The list must have been like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, people really got to lift their game if they want to keep their customers, because it's like, well, now I can go get a Dingley or a Cinnabon or LGMG or Genie or whatever. There's lots of different options now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And at the end of the day, when you're a rental company, a 19-foot scissor is a 19-foot scissor. It goes the same height, it drives in the same directions. So what can you give the customer to be able to make you buy your equipment? And it's going to be good quality parts and exceptional service. That's simply it. That's where you need to exceed, is your service division.
Yeah, all these sales reps are listening to this saying, what are you talking about? Our 19-foot scissor has this, and this.
Yeah,
that's part of it. But it is true. It is true. So then, so you expose yourself to Ahern, so you got the OEM side of things.
Yep.
And sort of how to lead from there.
So I went from Ahern, and I decided, I was like, I'm going to keep going. I want to try something different again. So I went over to Lindy Forklifts over in Huntingwood. I'm just going to expose myself to even more machinery. The thing with Ahern as well was it was great business, but you're working on the one brand of machinery. So which is fine. It works for some technicians, doesn't work for all technicians, but I was really keen to basically understand the principles of all machinery and just get my head around how everything works.
Yeah.
And just sort of be exposed to the wider market. So I went over there, started off in their workshop for about 3 months, doing anything from engine rebuilds to cab swaps. And then they came up to me, it was pretty cool the way they work it. They basically said to me, they're like, would you like to be a electric technician or would you like to be a diesel technician? So basically you get a choice if you want to work on the diesel machines or the combustion machines, or do you want to work on electrics? So I'm like, I think I'll give the electrics a go. So we did that for a few months, and then they scored a contract with a pretty big client out at Arndell Park, and they brought these machines in called turret trucks. And what these machines do when they've finished the setup is basically you could sit in the office, program what aisle you want, what shelf you want, what pallet you want, and the machine will just go down the aisle, pick the pallet, bring it to the end for the actual forklift drivers to get. So we went through installing RFID tags in aisles and programming all the machines. And it was a 24/7 site, so we could be there till 2 a.m. in the morning. We could be there at 5 p.m. at night. Whatever it was, we were there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of exciting, that stuff, especially when you're new to the industry or you're up and coming, you're young, you want to learn. Sometimes a 2 a.m. breakdown's kind of cool. It's kind of a little bit of an ego boost. It's you've been chosen to go out and get it sorted. So
it's different, yeah.
It is.
It's a pretty unique site.
Yeah. And when you get it fixed, you can ask any technician, if you fix a machine that the customer desperately needs, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a funny story actually. So Nino Parla is the CEO at Lindy. I think he's moved up another level. Anyway, so I knew Nino just through Lindy because Baseplan was doing stuff with him.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law invited me to go play soccer one day with his team. They're like, oh, we need some numbers, come down and just kick the ball around, whatever. Turn up and Nino was the coach.
Yeah, right.
So I went from seeing him this CEO of Lindy Material Handling, super formal, planning, to then him on the sideline, coaching this soccer team. I was it was just one of those moments where it just didn't really seem surreal. It was quite a small world.
You'd be turning around and just picturing him in a blue suit, ready to just throw orders at you.
It's quite funny. Oh, that's cool. So basically you got the Botany Access side,
Yep.
Ahern on the OEM, then you got the Lindy Material Handling side, which is more the forklift and all the different types they got in there.
Yeah, as much as exposure as I could get, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then on the electrical side, having a bit of a specialty.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that, and I noticed now, and I think a lot of people in the industry know now, especially the way equipment's progressing through the years, it's become more electronic driven. Everything's got ECUs, PCBs, anything like that. A lot of CAN bus systems. You're better off being an auto electrician in our industry now than you would be, say, a plant mechanic, depending on where you work and what you do.
Maybe that's why there's a shortage of people.
Well, that's it. Auto electricians are hard to get as it is.
Yeah.
And, most of them go disappearing down into one of Sydney's 400 tunnels, or they disappear over to WA.
So then how did that lead to you starting L&B services then, machinery services?
So once I decided to part ways with Lindy, I think I just couldn't sit still, to be honest with you. I jumped around a few times. I was still young at the time, would have been, I think 22. And I was like, I want to try something new while I'm still young again. So I decided to go to university. I was like, hey, why don't I go to uni, maybe take a gap year off the tools, see if I like it. So I decided to enroll and did a bachelor's degree in audio engineering. But then I came into the trouble of my bank balance being, zero as a broke uni student. So I was just like, man, how am I going to build the bank balance back up and go to uni at the same time? And I was like, sort of light bulb moment. I was like, why don't I go get a van, load it up with some tools, and just drive around and see some of the rental companies or manufacturers. And I'm like, I wonder if they could get me in for a couple of days a week. Lucky enough, the first 2 or 3 people I saw, they're like, when can you start? We'll take you on as a casual. And I was worried, you wouldn't think a mechanic could work as a casual in a way. And when I started my apprenticeship, I never really saw that many contractors out there. Compared to now, there is a lot more out there now compared to when I started.
Yeah, but the thing is, service is one of the hardest roles to fill in any hire business. It's just with the shortage. So if they're constantly recruiting, I would almost guarantee that most hire businesses are recruiting all year for people in the service department. It's just a non-stop thing.
You just press the refresh button on Seek every month.
Exactly. And so when you turn up and it's just whoa, how has this occurred? It's if you're solving their problem, you're giving them probably a good agreement and whatnot, flexibility, of course they're going to say yes. And then I'm assuming they're going to say, we want more hours. Yeah.
They always want more. So, but that didn't bother me. I was young, energetic. I'm still young, but I'd go do double shifts. So I'd rock up on a Monday, go do a shift with a customer, go do a 4-hour block at uni because I'd only have one lecture on that day, and then I'd just drive back to the job. I'd take the van to the city with me. I'd pack my uniform in the back of the car and I'd walk out with a
turn up with your hands all greasy in uni.
I did get some weird looks sometimes, but and I just walk out with my, brain fried from staring at a screen or learning something, and I'm like, all right, let's go have some fun. And it kind of broke it up for me, to be honest. I think I enjoyed it more.
Yeah. Okay.
So I suppose it wasn't a hobby, but it was just something extra. I was going to uni and I'm just like, hey, I'm just going to fix some machines, and then I'll go home and sleep for 4 hours and do it all again.
And I guess you're kind of you're controlling your own destiny as well, yeah. You're sort of picking and choosing when you want to work and the rate you want to charge and all that sort of stuff, which a lot of people don't have that opportunity to even do that.
Yeah, the freedom, it was quite a nice aspect, to be honest.
Yeah. So what sort of were you repairing machines? Were you what was your typical thing that you were doing for these companies? So
most of the time it was just workshop relief. So I'd rock up, there'd be a pile of dead machines in the corner, and they're just work your way through it. Sometimes I get breakdowns. I think I spent a month at one of my customers' yards painting machines. They're just they basically sold a heap of machines that were going overseas, and the painter wasn't going to be able to do them all in time, and so they had another spot free in the paint booth, and they're like, you reckon you do it? And I'm like, I can try. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Just get paid to paint machines for a couple of months.
Yeah. But I guess it's also just about saying yes, yeah. You're just sort of saying yes to opportunities. You don't really know what the next door is.
I kind of think that's my problem sometimes. I don't like saying no. It's just, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Why not?
Yeah. You just got to make sure the rate's the right thing, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, if you're paying $150 an hour,
yeah,
I'm not saying no to anything.
Yeah, exactly right. So even the rates have evolved. So, but that's like you said, like the service industry is in so much need for technicians. There's just not as many coming through as what there used to be. So because of that, like the rates have just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Like if you want to become a technician in our industry now, I'd say do it. The rates are probably 30% higher than what they were 10 years ago, probably more.
Yeah, I think I was talking to a company the other day. I think he was saying that they're I'm not sure if it was the mechanic or service. I think it was a mechanic. They're willing to pay 110 grand a year, I think, for the
Yeah,
person.
I know.
And they were like, "This is a good job." Like,
Yeah, sign me up. 6 figures off the bat. Yeah.
yeah, I won't name drop who it was, but yeah, they were sort of complaining, saying that like it went during COVID, it sort of went up, and then it's just continuing to go up, and so there was a shortage, plus the rates are higher and whatnot, and so maybe that might be a thing where more people get into it.
I hope so. Like we're always looking for people, and the problem is if we're looking for people, everyone else is already looking for people.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we would be not a last resort, but we're the ones that come out when you're in trouble. So yeah.
So what does your team look like now? So you sort of did that when you were at uni. Like, what does it look like now?
Yeah, so it was literally just me then. So now we've got, I can't even keep track anymore. So we've got 3 field service technicians, and there's 3 of us in the workshop. We've got 2 new staff members starting next month. But yeah, like it's going great, to be honest. We could always use more, but just finding the right people. So we've picked a few people out of a couple of different industries. So my business partner Luke is ex-civil, so he did his trade through West Track, like Caterpillar. He was at Komatsu for many years, so he's come across and like he was green as, but he's probably 10 times the technician than I am now that he's learned how the industry works.
Yeah, okay.
So we've got another technician who came from marine, so he worked on boat engines and stuff like that. It's the same thing every time. They're a little bit green to learn the ins and outs of the industry, but like they're all doing great. So
yeah, nice. And so maybe like, because there's probably people listening to this going, how do I do work with this company? Like we've got service problems. Like we've got machines that need repaired and whatnot. Like, so let's say I'm a small hire company in Sydney and I need stuff repaired. Like what does an engagement normally look like?
You just give me a call. Like, so we've got a 1-800 number. That number goes directly to my phone. So if I'm not in the office or anything like that, straight to me. Tell me what you got. I will say yes 99.9% of the time. Yeah. Like we'll get a tech out as quick as we can. So we focus a lot on the end user part of the industry as well. But we know, like I was in the hire industry for a while. We know how urgent the breakdowns are. Yeah. So Tuesday night I was underneath a machine in the middle of Rebel Sports in a shopping centre that was closing in half an hour. So between security, the store manager and everything else, like sometimes you just got to be on it.
Yeah, nice. There's actually, I'm going to do a bit of a plug here without even meaning to. So there's a company in the US called Heave. Have you heard of Heave before?
I haven't, no.
I think they're onto something very special. So I think the guy that started it, his name's Alex Kraft. So they've pivoted a few times with their solution, but I'm really liking what they're doing. They've built Uber for service techs.
I've had this conversation with people so many times, and I think someone should just bring it over to Australia. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. So Heave's got it in America, and I know they're in Florida. I think they're in Texas, California. They're all over the US now.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just like I couldn't believe like the price differences and the turnaround times that they were getting just from someone like popping up, accepting the job, going out, doing the work, getting the invoice straight away. Like we're talking like getting it fixed within like 2 days compared to 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think like for your business model, I think that would be an amazing outcome if like people could like start logging to say, I need this, and then you would obviously accept the job as the company on their behalf.
Yeah. I've had this conversation with my business partner Luke before. We're like, how good would it be if there was an app that did this? Because even now there are so many contractors, like just single man guys, like out in the field doing what they do. Like, we use contractors. I have customers ring me up and be like, I've got this machine in Queensland. It's broken down in this place, this time. I make one phone call to a contractor up in Queensland and I get them there. Like, I'm never going to turn around and be like, nah, I can't help you.
Yeah.
I'll find a solution. If it's in WA, I'll find a contractor in WA.
Yeah. All right, Alex, if you're listening.
Help us out.
Yeah. No, I've got. You should check. I'll send you. I'll put the link in the show notes.
I'm definitely interested to check that out. I reckon that'd be really cool.
Yeah. And then so maybe just for the listeners, like, because there's probably some people that aren't as exposed to like the service side. Like when you say a field service tech compared to workshop, like what's the main differences?
So a field service tech, I would say, is a diagnostic technician. So, or we call them breakdown techs. So you've got to go to site. You've got to deal with sometimes an angry customer, sometimes a customer who's your best mate. You've got to diagnose a machine in a short amount of time, as quick as possible. You've then got to make a phone call, find parts, swap the parts out, but it's more diagnostic work. I think, not saying that you don't do it in the workshop, but a workshop technician's main roles are normally like, you know, stripping cylinders apart or pulling boom sections out or carrying out engine services. It's more, not hard work, but probably more tolling on the body. I'm sure there's a lot of field service technicians right now who are probably going to hate me saying this, but I think it depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
I've done both. I enjoy both. If I had to pick one, I'd definitely say field service.
Yeah. They seem like the cool guys.
Yeah, the cool club. Yeah.
I get to go out see customers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's definitely a different like perspective on both sides. And I guess like how have you seen like telematics and GPS trackers change the way you service machines as well? Being able to like see fault codes and
massive change. Prime example is we could go to a machine, have a look at it. We won't. We'll have a look at the machine. We'll ring the customer and be like, hey, have you got telematics fitted? They'll be like, yes. And so I could ask a simple question of like, what's the system voltage right now? Or where's the machine? And if they turn around and be like, oh, it's reading like 6 volts, or, you know, we can't find it at the moment, I know I can go get a set of batteries and head straight to site. Instead of going to the site, diagnosing faulty batteries, going back to get the batteries, and then having to reinstall. So I'll probably just save like 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. We're saving them money, saving you time. You've built up reputation to sort of help them out. You've probably helped them do the diagnostics themselves potentially a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Themselves.
We do it all the time. Our customers ring me all the time and we help them on the phone. It's not like we charge for the service, but in our industry, it's so small but so big. There's a lot of equipment out there, but there's still not a lot of people. So like everyone knows each other. I get phone calls from contractors. I get phone calls from customers. I call contractors and customers and be like, hey, I've got this machine, you know, it's doing this. Have you had this before? And they're just like, yeah, it's this. And you've just saved yourself 2 hours in diagnosing. So like, it's not cheating. It's helping the customer out, really.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, it blows my mind when people have assets of high value and don't have GPS trackers.
I know,
on there, especially like the ones that like can pull back data and metrics and whatnot regarding especially the ones that can hook into like the CAN bus and stuff. If
you can get a fault code on your screen at HQ for a machine that's 200 k's away, like why wouldn't you? Yeah. You've got access to be able to send someone with the parts you need, you know, where it is, all that sort of stuff. Like there's certain things that you used to couldn't be able to control. You would ring a site contact, they wouldn't answer their phone. So you're standing around on site, walking back and forth, looking for everyone, and you're like, I just want to get to this machine. She's like, oh, I've got a GPS tracker. Sweet. I mean, it's not going to work on multi-story buildings, but it's going to help you, you know, most of the time.
Yeah, like ring fencing, fault codes, like hour meters.
Even things like geofencing, to be able to control where a machine goes, you know, and keep it within a certain distance of a certain, you know, point of interest, really. Yeah. Like there's so many features you can get from telematics. Like we've got a telehandler in our yard that we use for the workshop. It's still got telematics in it. We have a fuel usage. Like if you know how much your machine's using in fuel, it helps with like your return on interest, doesn't it?
100%, definitely. Oh, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. And look, there's a whole suite of different suppliers out there now that are becoming more and more modern.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name drop any because
No.
we don't have sponsors. So
Yeah.
you can
Pay up first.
pay up first before I start dropping names. But yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. I think when people tell me they don't have it, I'm like, yeah, it's a poor decision, I think. So
Yeah, we definitely push it ourselves. Like we do installations for a few of these companies, and we've got customers ours that have got tiny little diggers. Just like put a tracker in it for the sake of it. Just put a tracker in it, and it's going to bring your premium down anyway.
yeah, definitely. So then I guess I want to dive into a little bit because like you've got an interesting route where you worked at a few different businesses. You took the leap where you went to back to uni, started your own business by just doing odd jobs and whatnot, and that's sort of grown into something much bigger. Like, I think there's people out there that probably think, I can do that. Like, I can do that. Like, what are some of like the highs and lows that sort of happen when you start your own business?
It's funny you say highs and lows. I've had a customer say to me one time, and they couldn't be more spot on. Owning and running a business has got to be the highest of highs, but also the lowest of lows. You got to have days where you're at the top of the world, loving it, and then other days where you're like, I'm just going to crawl under my desk and sleep for a while. If you're going to do it, I think you just need to prioritize and have a specific skill set. You need time management. You need financial backing, or like I've done it twice now with minimal financial backing. If you can get someone to back you, just do it. It's just one less stress off your back. Like the issues with service companies and like the finances that go into it, it's not like I could just go buy a car and throw a spanner set in it. Like we need diagnostic tools. We need, pressure gauges. There's so many tools you got to buy. Like, we're 3 years running now, and I could probably go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars tomorrow just buying tools.
Yeah.
It never ends. So I think a good financial backing is a good one. So the good time management. You need someone who can sort of see outside the box as well. Because you got to remember, you're controlling multiple aspects. You need to be able to gauge what customers' needs are, but you need to be able to gauge how much work can you fit into a day. So good, like, comes into the time management again. There's, I think if you've got a fresh young family, maybe don't do it.
It's tough.
You're not going to see your wife, your kids for a while. You're going to be spending long, late nights at the office. Me, basically not being able to say no to people. I can end up doing 20-hour shifts sometimes and not even realize it. But you've got to go the extra mile.
Yeah, and you got to. It's just the passion. You got to just be like, you got to live the business if you want to get involved with it. Because then, like, if you're not going to make a decent coin out of it, just go get a job.
Yeah, well, the way wages are at the moment, you nearly could just stay where you are. It'd be better off.
Yeah. And so then how did you take that first leap in sort of bringing like more people on?
So when we started, obviously our original name when we started in Sydney was Access Works, New South Wales. So I had my business partner, Darren, at the time. He was a really good mentor in a way where, like, I couldn't tell you how to hire an employee 3 years ago. I'm like, where do you get a contract from? Like, do you need workers insurance? What are we doing? So I was fortunate enough to like basically have Darren and Karina that was there as well to be able to guide me through those steps to get more people on, because like I rang Darren up one day and I was like, we need someone. I'm like, I can't do this much longer. I'm like crashing. I'm burning the candle on both ends. Like, he's just hire someone. He made it sound so simple. He's like, just hire someone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. The thing is, but like, it's something that like, I think a lot of businesses think that like can't hire someone because it takes so much effort to try and get them up to speed and all that sort of stuff. But like, when you hire someone and you train them well, like, it is like a game changer for time, because then you've just multiplied yourself along the way.
I think a lot of people get scared. there's always going to be cases where you hire someone, you train them up, they'll be the best of the best, and they walk in your office door and they're like, I'm going to go work for myself. See you later. So like, there's always that possibility it's going to happen. But like, if you start a business, if you run a business, we all know risk. We all take risk every day we walk into the office. That's what we got to do to be successful sometimes, is just to take the leap and take the risk.
Yeah.
So, but if you can get 3 years out of this person, they do a great job, they've enjoyed themselves as well, you're both winners.
Yeah.
You're not always going to win. There's going to be times where you lose. But, we've had people come and go. And normally I'll shake hands with them, and then a week later they're out doing a job for me as a contractor. Like, you take the most of whatever opportunity you have.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's it. You just got to, I think the big part of it is like, you got to always like look like on the positive side as well.
Yeah.
Like because you just get pounded with just roadblocks and problems and just constantly putting out fires basically. Yeah. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed and stressed. And so it's just about just knowing that like, all right, well, but being honest with customers is probably very, very important as well. Like not being able to overcommit, because now you add another stress of being able to do stuff.
I think service businesses get a bad rap sometimes because people aren't honest with customers. Like the old cheeky, the part's still 2 weeks away. It's just like, it could be on the shelf or something like that. Or, I'm not saying that anyone does it anymore, but it doesn't matter what industry. Like, it could be the automotive industry, anything like that. I think service businesses have got a little bit of a bad rap over the years, and like it does affect what we do. So like, we try to be as honest as possible to sort of get rid of that stigma that service businesses are out to just make heaps of money and they rip you off where you can. It's like, no, we're here to help you.
Yeah,
that's literally what we do.
Yeah, and look, the beautiful thing with the hire industry is that you solve one person's problem, they're all mates.
Yeah.
So just sort of get passed around the buck, basically.
That's exactly right. Like, we mess up, everyone's going to know. Like, you can find out about it pretty quickly.
Yeah, very much. All right, and finally, so how do you define success?
I think success for me would be to be able to find a position where you could be, I guess, financially and maybe time stable. It's success is going to be an ongoing thing. Everyone's going to have their own sort of definition of it. But I think if I found the time where I had a steady cash flow and a good group of staff and just really good, basically time wealth to be able to go off and do things and like grow the business even more, I think that I call that success, really.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a balance, because like you can sort of be obsessed with the business and then you just drive it. Like, it was quite funny. So I was at the Young Professional Network, which is the HRA mentoring program a while back, and they asked me, what's the most common answer or trend you've got over the past like 3-4 years? I was like, it's kind of a depressing one, but like, a lot of senior managers, CEOs have like regretted like not spending time with their kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like a common thing. And so it's very easy to like fall into that trap. So it's like, it's really a balance. It's like, you can't, when you start a business or anything like that, you got to grind, but you can't grind forever.
No.
You got to be able to expand out, grow people and whatnot. And so that balance of cash flow and time is probably a good one. It's very hard to find, because every time you hire someone new, then your cash flow goes down and whatnot. But,
and then you got to train them, so then your time goes down as well. But I don't know. If someone finds the magic formula, please let me know.
Sounds good. All right, mate. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having me.